Manny, whatever we do, we have to involve Vince. I don't know when you're gonna do it with ChatGPT, but he has to be involved. And he has to tell the script. Vince versus the script.
A few moments later.
Welcome to another episode of Storytime with the Boys. I'm
Yes.
Manny Hayes, and right over there is Marcus, the grand finale.
Hi, guys!
Um,
Or Harmon.
so you have asked me to get you a story of Vince McMahon tearing up scripts.
Yes. Mr. Man versus scripts.
Yeah, so
They need to put this man in Hollywood currently to tear up every script that everybody's putting out right now.
okay. In the bustling newsroom of Newsbeat Weekly, the atmosphere was tense. The clock on the wall ticked relentlessly towards a deadline, and a team of writers and editors worked feverishly to finalize their latest issue. Headlines were being polished, stories were being fact-checked, and the air was thick with the urgency that only a newsroom in full swing could produce.
Woo!
In the center of it all stood Vince McMahon, the legendary wrestling promoter, who had, for reasons unknown to most, decided to take a role of a newsbeat writer for the week. Vince had always been a man who thrived on chaos and control, a maverick who relished the pressure of last-minute decisions and the thrill of delivering a spectacle. Now standing in the middle of a very different kind of ring, Vince was determined to leave his mark.
Standing in a different type of ring is a really nice touch. Nice touch.
The staff at Newsbeat Weekly had been both excited and apprehensive when they heard that Vince would be joining them. They knew of his reputation for tearing up wrestling scripts at the 11th hour, rewriting entire shows just before they went live. But this was journalism, not sports entertainment. Surely things would be different here, or so they thought.
It's not. He's gonna do it.
Vince had been handed the lead story of the issue, a deep dive into the latest political scandal that had rocked the nation. The article was meticulously crafted, filled with sharp analysis and well-researched facts. The writer, a seasoned journalist named Emily, had spent the days...
Oh, Emily's gonna get it.
Had spent the day putting it together, ensuring it was both insightful and engaging. It was, by all accounts, ready to go. Yes.
Yeah, ready? Can I point? I'm glad her name is Emily and not Janelle Branch or whatever her name was. Like, I thought ChatGPT was about to get nasty with this.
But as Vince read through the draft, his expression grew darker. With each passing paragraph, he furrowed his brow, his eyes narrowing as he absorbed the carefully constructed narrative. Finally, he set the pages down on the desk in front of him, leaned back in his chair and crossed his arms, his face unreadable. Emily, sensing something was wrong, approached cautiously. Vince, is everything okay with this story? I worked closely with the editors to make sure it was solid. Vince looked up at her, his piercing gaze locking her onto hers. It's fine, he said, with a voice calm but carrying an edge of impatience. But it's missing something. It's missing the spark.
Yeah! This is amazing!
Emily blinked, confused. The spark? What do you mean? Vince stood up, towering over. Oh no. And picked up the draft again. This is good journalism, Emily. But it's not great storytelling. Where's the drama, the suspense, the twist that makes people gasp when they read it? This is just facts and figures. Where's the emotion? Where's the confrontation?
Yes!
Emily started to protest. But Vince, it's a news article, not a wrestling storyline. We can't just... But before she could finish, Vince took the script in both hands. And with a swift motion, tore it in half.
Yeah!
The sound of ripping paper echoed through the newsroom, and heads turned in shock. Emily gasped, and her heart sinking as she watched days of hard work being destroyed in an instant. Vince! She explained, her voice a mix of disbelief and anger. What are you doing? Vince dropped the torn pages onto the desk and leaned in close, his eyes burning with intensity. This isn't about just reporting the news, Emily. This is about making people feel something. We need to grab them by the throat and not let go until they've read every word. Facts are important, but how you present them That's what keeps people coming back. My throat is actually hurting.
Yeah, you shouldn't be going this hard. Go, ready? You continue.
But it's Nigel McGuinness. Emily was stunned. She had never seen anything like this in her career. But we were on a deadline. We don't have time to start over. Vince smiled with a fierce glint in his eyes. Then we better get to work. He took a deep breath and started pacing the room, his mind racing. We need to start with a hook, something that pulls the reader in from the first sentence. Maybe focus on a human element. This is how this scandal is affecting real people, and then we build up to a big reveal. The piece of information that turns the whole story on its head. We need tension. We need conflict. We need stakes. Something that makes this more than just another political article. Oh my God, how much did they write?
They went in. Once Emily, they said yes.
Emily,
yes,
still
please.
reeling from the shock, realized she had no choice but to follow his lead. She grabbed the notepad and started jotting down his ideas, trying to keep up with his rapid fire pace of his thoughts. The newsroom watched in a mix of awe and confusion as Vince took control, directing Emily and the other writers with the same authority he used to command his wrestling empire. He demanded rewrites, pushing for bolder headlines, and even insisted on dramatic change to the layout to make the story more visually striking. As the clock ticked closer to the deadline, the tensions in the room, a fever pitch, but somehow, under Vince's direction, the team managed to pull it all together. The final draft was a far cry from the original, a high-octane piece that read like a thriller, filled with emotional quotes, suspenseful narrative, and a powerful conclusion that left readers stunned.
I'm stunned. Manny, take a break. We'll let Nigel McGuinness wrestle a little bit until he's out or we don't care anymore. We'll jump back.
Ooh.
Let you breathe and get some water or some hydration. Courtesy of the drink that nobody wants if they have Coke, Pepsi.
One eternity later.
I'm all fired up and ready to go.
All right, let's conclude this and then we'll do your other bit. So the rest of the newsroom. Yeah, the rest of the newsroom watched in a mix of awe and confusion as Vince took control, directing Emily with the other writers with the same authority used to command his wrestling empire. He demanded rewrites, pushed for bolder headlines, and even insisted on a dramatic change to the layout of the story, making it more visually striking. As the clock ticked closer to the deadline, the tension in the room reached fever pitch. But somehow, under Vince's direction, the team managed to pull it all together. Final draft was a far cry from the original, a high-octane piece that read like a thriller. Filled with emotional quotes, suspenseful narrative, and a powerful...
That's why he fixed it!
Stunned. When the issue finally went to print, Vince leaned back in his chair, satisfied, with a satisfied smile on his face. He turned to Emily, who was still catching her breath on the whirlwind of her last-minute changes. Now that, Vince said, is how you tell a story. Emily couldn't help but put a smile despite the chaos. You're something else, Vince. I've never seen anyone
Oh no, where's this going?
Vince chuckled, clapping her on the shoulders. Stick with me, kid. You'll learn a thing or two about keeping people on the edges of their seats. As Vince walked out of the newsroom, the staff exchanged glances, still processing what had just happened. They had just witnessed a master at work. Someone who, despite being out of his element, had brought his own brand of showmanship to the world of journalism. The story they published that day became one of the most talked about articles in Newsbeat Weekly's history, proving that in the right hands, even the news could be as thrilling as the main event at WrestleMania. The end.
I can't believe they weaved all that into it. Well done. I can't believe he made it better. They turned Vince into a hero. Emily, you sucked. Britt Baker, by the way, is dressed as Hulk Hogan. So we can ignore her.